Hi, Marian. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we're so thrilled to have you here and for you to share with us what is happening in Zambia pertaining to the immigration landscape and how it's responding to COVID-19. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Lynn? And thanks for having me. It's good to finally see your face. We normally just chat via email, but this is good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's always nice to connect. I mean, we can't be in person, but at least I can see your face.
Yes.
So let me start with you sharing with us and our listeners about you, Marian. Talk to us a little bit about yourself, about your team, and what your specialty practice is and how long your company has been around.
Okay, so Marian is the name, of course, and I'm working for Compass Globe Corporate Solutions. We provide services to do with company secretarial, and then we also provide immigration services. Mm-hmm. So the company itself was initially incorporated about, I would say 22 years ago. That's when the firm was brought on the market. Then it was Compass Globe Secretaries. So after a few years, about 9 to 10 years, they decided to rebrand and bring in Compass Globe Corporate Solutions. So this meant that the law firm now was on its own, which is now called Compass Legal Practitioners. Okay. And then Compass Globe Corporate Solutions was brought in to basically provide COSEC, which is company secretarial, aside from the law firm. Then the law firm will now, which is now concentrating on legal matters.
Yes.
So of course, from time to time, we do work with the law firm because majority of our clients actually stem from the law firm. But if they need other services like COSEC, immigration services, then CGCSO, which is Compass Globe, comes in and provides that service. So I joined Compass in 2013, in October on the 7th. And initially when I joined, it was more of just, I joined as a legal clerk and was just doing the normal COSEC work.
Yes.
And that immigration services the company was not really providing the service the way we are now. It was a once-off instruction. But what we realized was that because most of our clients come from outside Zambia, okay, and our main service was incorporation of business entities in the country. So we're dealing with expatriates on a daily basis.
Yes, yes.
So then we didn't want to give away business to other entities to say we will provide the COSEC service, but then find someone else to provide immigration services. So we thought maybe we can dab into this as well. And then we started growing that aspect of the company as well.
Right.
So from about 14 up until now, that's when we've really gone into this field and we're able to provide the service aside from COSEC. Except there's a rule in Zambia that states that if you want to provide immigration services, you must be a registered consulting firm.
Yes.
However, that rule does not apply to law firms. So remember,
yes,
I mentioned that we were born
that to me.
Yes. So since we are coming from Compass Legal, we are able to provide this service under the law firm's umbrella. So this does not require us to register as consulting firms. So even if you checked online, you wouldn't find CGCO registered as an immigration consultant. But we're able to provide the service under the law firm, which works for us. And it, in a way, because the firm has its own attorneys that we have our own lawyers, or if we need any legal representation. So we are all covered in any way and our clients are good.
Right, right. No, I definitely can understand that.
So from then, 2018, I moved from Malaysia, and that's where I am right now.
Oh, I see. I see. So can you tell us what's going on in terms of the current policies and procedures that are in place with regards to immigration in Zambia as a response to COVID?
So what's happening now is we've been trying to get hold of the PR from immigration. So far, we haven't been able to talk to him, but we have managed to talk to a few officers from immigration, some senior officers. So as of Monday, an alert was issued, and I think I shared this with you this morning or this afternoon.
Yes.
There's been some restrictions that have been imposed starting the 20th of July. Yes, so certain visas are not going to be processed anymore going forward until we see how the situation comes down. So for travelers like those who are just coming on tourist visas or visiting visas, they will not be able to enter the country for now. So only essential traveling is allowed for now.
Yes.
So if it has nothing to do with business, nothing to do with work, or if you are a resident of Zambia but you've been outside, you will not be able to enter the country for now. Okay. Of course, there's the aspect of we have I would say, expatriates who've been residing in the country for some time, and they did leave to travel back now. Those will be allowed as long as their permits are still valid. If the permit is not valid, they will be given the opportunity to apply online. So we have the online service which someone can access from wherever they are in the world, and they don't necessarily have to be in the country for the application to be processed. So once that has been processed, if it is approved, then they can come into the country, and of course they will have to go through the procedures through the borders. And for now, it's just flights. Those who are coming by road, because they need to take you a lot of time for you to actually get cleared and proceed to where you're going to. But those flying in, it's also strict in the sense that they require you to have medical reports to show that you're COVID-free. And that certificate that they're asking for should have been issued at least 4 days before your travel.
Before your departure?
Yes.
Okay.
So you will need to present that. For those who are already in the country, and their permits for as many times as possible. If anything, we have started to do that for most of our clients. And so that remains unchanged. Whether there's COVID or there's no COVID, the law has always been that if you are in the country and your permit is about to expire, then you simply submit an application to have it extended.
Okay.
Those with business visas, because now remember I said visas are no longer being processed. So if you had come in on a business visa, say, and you can't travel back or you wish to remain in the country, there are two options there, because you either apply for a temporary employment permit, that's if you are on business, or you apply for a temporary permit. Usually the first step would be that you apply for a temporary employment permit, that's a TEP. And that would be given to you for a period of 3 months, and you'd be allowed to extend it for another 3 months. Now, we're living in a situation where we don't know when COVID will end. So say someone applies for a TEP today, and 6 months later, we still have COVID and that person can't go back to their hometown.
Yes.
Then they can apply for the temporary permit. So the temporary permit is issued for so many reasons. It's an emergency permit.
Okay.
It can be given to a dependent. It can be given to someone who's coming to attend court and they don't have days on their business visa. So for whatever reason you need it for, and you need to make your stay in the country legal, the temporary permit would be issued to you, just so you are not declared an immigrant who's not supposed to be in the country, prohibited immigrant. Yes. So these two permits are there to cover you for the period that you are here until you are able to leave.
I see.
Except Zambia is not necessarily on a lockdown for now. So people are still allowed to come in and to go.
Okay.
There's still that option, especially when it comes to living. It's not really an issue.
Yes.
It's you trying to come into the country where these rules are being taken so seriously because of wherever you are coming from. You might have caught it somewhere. So they need to check that you are safe and you are not going to be in contact with people if you have it. At least for a period of 14 days, you've been quarantined. Until after that, you have to be checked by a doctor. If you are still okay, then they will release you in the public domain, so to speak.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So you also have that same sort of medical screening at the time of arrival. And
Yes, we have that.
quarantine. Yeah, I see so. So you were saying that there's this temporary visa that's made available for people who are stuck in Zambia at this time. Are those extensions automatic? Are they free, or do people have to go through the normal procedure of paying for the extension and then hence it's not automatic?
So the extensions are not for free, but you still go through the same procedure and the same process as well as if there was no COVID. Except they're making, especially for the TP, they're making it more available because for visas like a business visa, it can't be extended once it has been issued.
Oh, I see.
The way it works in Zambia is we have a business visa, then we have a temporary employment permit, and we have a temporary permit, then we have an employment permit. So these are permits that are issued under, I would put it under the umbrella of business. So, and the procedure, how it works is, sorry, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can
My
hear you.
computer seems to be doing something here. Okay, yes. So then the first step is for someone who wants to come and work and live in Zambia, how the procedure then works is that you first come in on a business visa. If you need to just come in and survey the local markets in Zambia before you do anything. So you can come in on a business visa. The visa is valid for 30 days and it's issued once.
Okay.
So you have the option to either request for the full 30 days, or you can request for, say, maybe you just say, I want to be in the country for 7 days, for 5 days. That's up to you. So we have single entry, double entry, multiple entry.
Okay.
That's for the visa. So if you request for a multiple entry business visa, you'll be given the full 30 days, but it does not mean you use them all at once.
Yes,
so you can get them
come in
today.
and out as you want.
Yes. And once those 30 days expire and you still want to remain in the country, you now then move to the temporary employment permit, the TEP. So for you to get this temporary employment permit, their first requirement is that you must be in the country on a valid business visa. If you've been in the country on a visa and you've used up all your days on your business visa, then you do not qualify for the TEP.
Okay.
It means you will skip this permit and apply for the temporary permit. Remember, I mentioned the temporary permit is an emergency permit.
Yes.
So this one would be given to you because you do not have days in the country.
Okay.
And you would continue to conduct your business as you were before. So the way they would issue the TEP is that they would issue it as if they're issuing, the way they'll issue the TP would be issued in the same manner as the TEP. They'll give you 3 months and you'll be allowed to extend it once for another 3 months. So it will be valid for 6 months.
Okay.
After that, you will now be required to leave the country. If at that stage you've decided to finally come and live and work in Zambia, you then remain outside the country and apply for the full employment permit. So the full employment permit, the main requirement is that you need to remain outside the country while this application is being processed. So you can't do it on your own.
Yes.
Either your employers in Zambia will submit the application on your behalf, or they will hire Corpus Globe and ask them to process the permit for you. Once it has been approved, then you can come in using your approval letter. At that stage, it's showing that you have a permit and you're allowed to come and live and work in Zambia. So that's how it works. So for those who are already here, those who are on TEPs or employment permits, and they're already living and working here, it makes their work a lot easier because they can simply apply for an extension without having to worry about being sent out. The issue becomes where you may have left the country and your permit expires while you're outside. It becomes a bit tricky to bring you in because then it means you can't travel in until your application to extend your permit has been approved.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So are you...
Unfortunately, there are no concessions, even with the current situation where they will say no extensions of visas is free or extensions of permits is free. They haven't provided those concessions, but they're allowing people to go in and have their permits extended. And this is something they can do from the comfort of their homes. They simply do it
online. Okay. Yeah. So are your governmental authorities and all the other governmental entities that process immigration applications, are they at full capacity now? Are they fully operational?
So the Ministry of Home Affairs is fully operational, except they are working in shifts. So you would find a team maybe a team it would be of 10 officers. It's been reduced to 5 because the other 5 have been asked to go home, and then maybe after a week, another Friday from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
You mentioned people that are within Zambia and how they are able to extend their visas during this time, particularly if they're stuck within Zambia and can't return to their home countries. But what about those foreign expats who, before the lockdown, before COVID, they had their applications and their visas approved to come in to work, and now they're not able to come in, or they weren't able to come in? Do those visas expire, or do they have to start the process over again?
So with the current alert that we received now, what we're being told is all visas that were applied for before 25th of March this year, they have all been revoked and they are all now and void. However, for anyone who wants to travel to Zambia now, it's quite strict now, unless you're coming to work. If it's just to visit, you just want to come as a tourist, for now you can't come in. So only essential travel is being allowed now. Okay. So if you are coming to work, you will have to apply for the permit online and wait for approval from immigration. If your application is approved, then you'd be given the green light to come to Zambia, but you will be subjected to all the health regulators that have been put in place. Yes. You will need to do your testing from your home country 4 days before your travel and have a certificate of clearance to show that you've been tested for COVID-19 and your results were negative. And upon arrival, you will need to present both your approval letter showing that you had applied for a permit and it was approved, so that would be your written authorization to come to Zambia. Okay. Then you would need to produce your certificate to show that you have also been tested for COVID-19 and your results were negative. I see. So once you provide that, our health experts at the airports will also subject you to another testing, because you've been in transit, you've been in contact with different people, so anything might have happened during that period. Yes. So they'll subject you to that testing, and then there's also mandatory quarantine for at least 14 days. There's a whole list of where you can stay for that period, so you choose where you want to be isolated for at least that period. Then after that, you can go about with your business and you can enter the country. So that's how it's being done now.
I see. I see. Now, you said that there's no real concessions or directives in place, as we talked earlier about, the extensions and so on. But do you think that if things, remain the same or, you know, sort of, Lord forbid, that, things have to kind of be in a complete lockdown or something like that, for those that are stuck in Zambia, do you think that the authorities would be open to sort of waiving some of the requirements to become a little bit more lenient? You did say that they're offering these temporary measures right now. Do you think that they'll still be open to that?
I think they will be because the situation keeps changing. 2 months ago, we were not. I would say we're not doing so bad with the pandemic. But in the last 2-3 weeks, the numbers they've skyrocketed. It's incredible and it's scary.
Yes.
So right now things are uncertain, which is why we've even seen an alert now that has come in to tell us that while borders remain open, certain measures have been put in place. And I would like to think that if the situation gets worse from where we are now, they would have to revisit what they've said. These are the plans that they have in place, and probably see how they will help out people in the country right now, but they're stuck and they can't leave, especially if we get to a stage where our borders are closed. Because then at that point, people can't go back home. So for now, they're leaning towards the fact that our borders are still open. And then there's also the facility of extending your permit online. So you don't necessarily have to go to immigration to process your application. Yes, so because of that, it still gives room for someone to make their stay in the country legal at any given time. But we'll see how time goes, if some things will change, if maybe some visas will be made free, or if people will be paying less. We'll see how it goes, because it's not a question of just people being stuck, but also businesses are not doing well. Some companies are closing. Some companies have gone on temporary closures. Others have just completely closed, meaning there's no money coming in. So if you have someone who's been employed, they're in the country on an employment permit, and their country is no longer performing, how does that one earn a living? How do they get the money to pay to extend their permit? So it goes a long way. And I'm sure this is something that they're looking into as well.
Yes, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. So you're talking about these businesses just in sort of a general spectrum of the immigration landscape in Zambia. Can you just tell us a little bit about what industries are pretty much prominent in the location, and are those industries, any industries more favored than others when allowing people to come in, foreign expats to come in and work at in those particular sectors?
Yes, so the main ones that I would say are more favorable at the moment, and where the department is actually allowing people to come and work in that field, it's the energy sector, and then I would also say the manufacturing sector and agriculture.
Okay.
So energy, in the sense that the government is trying by all means to find other ways for the country to start generating electricity other than the hydro and that we all rely on. So we've seen people coming on board with solar energy, and this is working. It's something that the government is now encouraging, and we've seen a few people who are setting up businesses in that, and it's encouraging for them, and they're not really having issues in having their permits approved. But that does not mean that they're not going through the same process. They still have to follow the process that's there, just like everyone else. They will go through that process. They need to have the required documentation. The businesses have to be investigated if need be. They will have to do some inspections and go through their books and all that. But otherwise, this is a sector that the government is encouraging people to actually tap into and develop as well. And the same goes for agriculture. Because when you talk about agriculture, mostly you're talking about places that are not really, it's not CBD, so to speak, it's in the outskirts. So if you're going to tech development there, you're not just setting up a company there or a business there, you're growing the community that's around that company where you're setting up. So in a way, you're creating jobs as well. So it has to do with a lot. And so when you tap into energy, you tap into manufacturing, you tap into agriculture, you have a high chance of actually setting up and you get started as soon as possible.
I see. And so with that, saying that your government is very open and, favorable to those types of sectors, what would you recommend to companies who actually want to plan, for the future? I mean, a lot of companies are restructuring and they're changing the way that their assignments are now being facilitated and implemented. What would you advise them on how they plan, for the future, which is so difficult to do at this time? But if there's anything they can do to, in the interim, planning purposes, what would you advise them?
So for those who are looking to come in and set up, and usually for someone who's coming to set up a business in Zambia, they also they apply for a different permit. So for them, it won't be an employment permit because you're bringing in investment into the country. So your type of permit would be an investor's permit. So there's that minimum threshold that you need to meet. If you are setting up a new entity altogether, you need to have a minimum of $250,000 US. Hopefully that gets reduced because it's quite
hefty. Yeah.
Yes. But if you're joining a company that has already been set up, but they're looking for someone to bring in more money and get the company going, you need to have a minimum of $150,000 US. So that would be the threshold for that. So you need to ensure that you have that in place, and also your company needs to get registered here. Usually in Zambia, it takes, if you have all the documents, say for instance, you approach Corpus that you want to set up in Zambia, you tell us the name of the company and we provide you with the checklist. Just to have the company open and you have your certificate, it's within 24 hours or 48 hours, you will have your certificate of incorporation. So the delay in setting up the company is actually dependent on you. How quickly you want it to be set up, it will depend on how fast you work in terms of paperwork.
Getting everything together,
Yes. After that, you would require a bank account. That usually also depends on the type of bank that you are using. For the bank that we mostly use with most of our clients, it takes about 5 working days, if not maybe 2 weeks. It doesn't get to a month unless there's just something special going on. Also, that depends on the type of bank you're choosing. There are certain banks that are good, they're quite fast. Others, they delay. So yes, so I would say within a month, you would have set up. That's if you're working as fast as we are on our end, because we will give you what you need, then we'll wait for you to come back with what is required from you, and then we move on and submit with the registry house and have your company registered within 48 hours. Yeah.
Oh, that's
so you need to plan it in a way that once you start talks about setting up the company, it's how quickly you give us the information for us to work with it. Then we get back to you and give it to you. Then whenever you're ready, you let us know to say, I want my company set up within this week. These are the documents that you asked for. Then we'll proceed with that and have it registered for you.
Yes. And how about companies that already have entities within Zambia and then they want to start mobilizing again and having people come in for assignments?
So for that, that's when now immigration comes in. There's a law that states that before you employ an expatriate, you need to do a local market research. So you need to advertise in the papers, hold interviews, prepare a recruitment report on how the interviews went. From then, if you haven't found a Zambian who's qualified enough for that position, then you can look for someone else on the international scene.
Yes.
So if you are looking to bring in staff from outside Zambia and you need to go through this whole process, we usually recommend that you give yourself a good 1 to 2 months. Because if you're going to advertise in the papers, you can't advertise today and hold interviews tomorrow.
Yes.
And then on Tuesday, you put in an application for an expatriate. That doesn't look right. So
Yes.
you need to strategize and make sure that there's enough time in between you advertising, you having interviews, and you now finally applying for staff to come in from outside.
Right.
So I would say with 2 months or even 3 months if you can.
If you can, yeah. And then what about
Yes.
situations where, you know, sort of the intra-company transfer kind of model where people just need to come in to train people or to establish new departments or to just work on a quick project with the local team? Is that also possible? And what would the timeline be for a foreign expat to come in for a quick secondment or assignment?
So for that one, it now depends on you. So if you say you just want to bring in staff to train local staff, we will ask you for how long do you need this person to be in the country. If it's in a period of 6 months, we would ask you to apply for the temporary employment permit, because then that doesn't subject you to local market research.
Yes.
It's a short-term permit, so you don't go through that process. It's quite simple and quite fast.
Okay.
But if you need someone to come and train your local staff for a period exceeding 6 months, say 1 year to 2 years, what we normally do is that we request for leave from the Director General of Immigration. We'll let them know that this person is only coming to provide training. And then the other requirement would be that you provide some sort of, we normally call it a nomination letter, where you say you've been nominated by the parent company to come and provide that training. So then at that point, the DG will allow you, and then the permit that they will give you, if it is approved, would be conditional, meaning they will just give you 2 years.
Yeah.
And that would mean within 2 years, you must have done your training, and you will have to hand over that position to a Zambian if it needs to be handed over. If it's not, if it was just basic training after that, that's fine. But they would give you a conditional permit.
Right.
So ideally, we would ask you to first ask the department to allow you come in on that basis, so that you skip the part where you need to advertise, where you need to have interviews. So that whole process, they will allow you not to do that, as long as you have information and supporting documentation to show that you're just coming for that purpose.
Right.
Even for those who are coming in, maybe it's a transfer. I would say maybe take, for instance, someone works for Pick and Pay South Africa, and then they need someone else from South Africa to come to Pick and Pay Zambia. So it's intercompany movement.
Yes.
On that one, we will tell them that this position is not open to the public, it's within. So for that, they will allow you, except you need to notify them before the application goes in.
I see. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So there's just different streams dependent on exactly what your need is and what support you require, and there are different avenues for you know, corporations or all folks to be able to you know, receive some immigration benefit to be able to come to Zambia. So that's very helpful, Marian. Thank you so much. Is there anything else, now that we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you, within the scope of what we talked about today, that you wish to share with our listeners? Any sort of wrap-up thoughts or advice?
Okay, so I would say, you know, with what's currently prevailing, it's quite uncertain how things will be in the next month or so. So for those intending to set up businesses, Zambian borders are still open, people are still working, others are working from home, others are back in offices. So it goes to whom you are talking with on this side of things, then they would tell you what you need to do. Otherwise, if you need to travel, find out first if it's safe for you to travel. Otherwise, it's not necessary. Don't do it, because then it will require you so much time before you can even come in and actually start doing what you need to do.
Right.
Otherwise, when it comes to permit applications, this is something that you can do online if you are able to. If you can't, then look for an agent to assist you with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, for now, it's a bit scary, Lynn. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
2 months ago, it didn't seem that serious, but now we're hearing of a death being recorded every other day. So, yeah.
No, I definitely, yes. I think everybody in their own respective jurisdictions are just seeing the numbers rising, and, you know, are just in hopes that things will peak and normalize sometime soon. I mean, that is the hope. You know, I try to remain optimistic despite the circumstances. So I'm really hoping that, you know, that in the next few months we'll find ourselves in continuing to be able to provide this type of support to our clients. And we're so thankful, you know, to you, Marian, and your team. You've been, you know, our partner for a while now, and, you know, we love working with you. You are really great, and so competent and knowledgeable, and a real expert in this area in your jurisdiction. And we really thank you for being with us, and we really are appreciative of you taking the time, and we hope that we continue to get to work together as we make it through this tough time.
Yes, no, thank you for having us, and also for the opportunity. And I hope whoever is listening, Zambia is still operating, can come and set up your business. We're here to help. Whatever you need, we're here to render our support.
Thank you so much, Marian. Thank you again. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Have a good one.
All right.